those days, boys knew that they would either be drafted or volunteer for armed service. There was no end to the war in sight. My mother signed for me, her youngest child, to join the Navy on a minority cruise. We lived in Petal, Mississippi, and knew that the Army's backpack at Camp Shelby weighed 190 pounds when fully loaded. I weighed 120. So I went to Hattiesburg to enlist, was sworn in Jackson, and put on a train for Camp Perry, Virginia, without having a chance to say goodbye to my mom. From Camp Perry, I went aboard the USS New York, headed to Pearl Harbor. Whether a person joined or was drafted or worked in the defense plant, a common thought prevailed. People were doing what they were expected to do. With that in mind, everyone had a chore to perform and it was readily done. For the young in the service, lessons of war come hard, especially when you observe a sea burial. Not knowing how long a ship would be at sea with bodies, it was a well-accepted Navy tradition that burial be conducted at sea. Everyone on board was required to attend. Bodies were placed in heavy canvas bags with artillery projectiles as weights under an American flag. They are placed on trays at the side of the ship. After an appropriate ceremony by the captain and the chaplain, the bodies slide off the trays into the ocean. The ship's band provided appropriate music, including the Star-Spangled Banner. It made you realize that this was happening on other ships all over, in small or large groups. For this 17-year-old, it was an experience imprinted on my soul. We had church every Sunday, and attendance went up after we got to the Pacific. My thoughts and prayers go back to those enlisted men who we buried in watery graves almost daily. The 3 burials that I witnessed involved members of the underwater demolition teams that the Navy had organized prior to an invasion. They would be dropped off in an attempt to destroy underwater defensive devices. We were told that the members of those teams were all volunteers and primarily orphans. The current organization, Navy SEALs, grew from those underwater demolition teams. My service in the Navy, which culminated with me serving as a CB in Guam after the war ended, motivated me to be more active in things which I became involved in and to be grateful for each day. After the bombing of the World Trade Center, those of us who were still alive were invited to the launch of the USS New York. It carried 1 ton of steel from the remains of the World Trade Center in its hull. I am now at the Veterans Home in Kosciuszko, along with many men and women who could tell similar stories.
We still have Sunday morning services at the complex and remember those days.